Oop asks if she is tough for introducing her BF's parents as grandma and grandpa to her son. I am not Oop. Original post by you, character, bed, 1205 in R, am I the asshole? #AITA for introducing my boyfriend's parents as grandma and grandpa to my son. Link AITA. November 27, 2022. This last Thursday I, 29F, went over to my boyfriend, Jay's 25M house for Thanksgiving and brought my son 4 with me. I and Jay have been together for a year and a half now. And he is the most amazing man in the world. He's been amazing with my son. His bio father is not in his life. And I can genuinely see him as the one. Jay's parents came over as well. It's not that I don't get along with them. It's just I have only ever seen them 3 times before this Thanksgiving. I have not had any time to really bond with them, I guess. They had never met my son in person either. But they both knew about him. By the time I arrived, Jay's parents were already there and helping him finish up dinner. We greeted each other and Jay's dad asked, "And who's this little guy?" I introduced them to my son. And then introduced Jay's parents as grandma and grandpa to my precious boy. I didn't notice at the time. But all 3 of them became quiet almost immediately. I ended up waiting in the living room alone for almost half an hour before dinner and things just were incredibly awkward for the rest of the night. My son did end up calling his parents by grandpa and grandma, and I quickly noticed both of them would be very disingenuous and awkward about it over dinner, but they did not say anything to me about it. They didn't stick around for long after either, but when they left both were very cold to me. I asked Jay what was their deal and he lost it at me. He claims I put him in an incredibly awkward position. His parents apparently didn't think we were that serious yet and began to question him if I was only using him as a replacement daddy. He said that it was way out of line to introduce them that way without even talking to him beforehand. I think it's ridiculous. If one day he's going to be my son's stepdad, then why go through this formal nonsense? He claimed that's not the point, and we ended up fighting till I stormed out. We have not talked since, and I have simply been waiting for an apology. I talked with my sister about it last night and she said she was mortified to hear this, saying she also didn't get the read that we were all that serious and she never felt like Jay intended to take on a dad role. This has got me questioning if I was wrong. Verdict: asshole. Comments: 1. I wish his parents had at least come up to talk. You know? It would have made things less awkward. 2. I and Jay have never really sat down and talked about this, I guess. He's always been so amazing with my son though, that I just kind of assumed he was going to take on that role once we got engaged. My sister though says that Jay's never given off that vibe to her. I plan to have that conversation with him immediately. 3. Jay's always been so amazing with my son though. It might not be a dad relationship by name, but my son loves Jay with all his heart. And Jay's never given any indication he's not okay with this. We never sat down and talked about it. Sure, but he never said anything else. I really regret doing this now though, for I know now in retrospect how bad it looks. But I genuinely thought that Jay was fine with it. My son sees him as basically his father figure even though we don't live together yet. Jay has been nothing but an angel to my son as well. So I guess I misread the entire situation. I feel panicky now, because I know I messed up badly. I probably ruined my relationship with his parents, and from what my sister told me, I'm guessing Jay may not have seen my son as his own. I really don't know how to fix this now. Updates. Edits. Within the post. Edit. Okay, I messed up. I genuinely thought Jay would be okay with this. Jay has always treated my son so well. I guess I misread treating him kindly as being okay with being his father figure. I'm pretty sure I ruined this for myself. But most importantly, I hurt my son through all this. Edit 2. I called Jay and apologized. We're going to be taking a break. I'm going to look into making sure I didn't scar my kid with this. Update. AITA for introducing my boyfriend's parents as grandma and grandpa to my son. Link AITA. December 10, 2022. People still seemed interested in my post about introducing my boyfriend Jay's parents to my son as grandma and grandpa. I thought I would update everyone on what happened. Immediately when I realized I was in the wrong, I called Jay and apologized for what happened. He told me he needed some space and wanted to take a break. I ended up calling his mother as well and apologized profusely. His mother forgave me, and after I explained my reasoning, said she didn't hold it against me. However, in retrospect, I think she was only being nice to me, knowing her son was going to end the relationship. Speaking of, Jay ended the relationship. I decided to take the advice given here about sitting down with Jay and getting on the same page about our relationship. I also saw some of the comments here about taking a break equals relationship ended. So I called Jay and told him that I wanted to talk sooner rather than later about this. We met yesterday, and while I feel our talk went well, it was really obvious to me that Jay was done with the relationship. He said that, while he always knew that me and my son were a package deal, he had not decided at that point if he was truly going to take on the dad role for my son. He felt like my interpreting his niceness and acceptance of my son as a fatherly role was a red flag for him overall, especially because we had never talked about it at all. He said that the real problem he had was me deciding that his parents were grandma and grandpa, without even talking to him about it. My original refusal to apologize and expecting him to as well were part of it as well. There are other things he brought up that I feel are beyond this issue anyway, so I'm going to leave them out. Many of the criticisms left on my original post lined up with what he said, so I can really say for certain I messed up big time. I apologized, but I knew there was really no hope of saving this, so I didn't push when he said he felt like we should end the relationship. Overall, my last post made me realize that I really need to work on my own expectations for my partner and how he will fit into my son's life. I also really need to work on my own communication skills. Reminder: I am not the original poster. When I read this one, I was very much, how can someone be so clueless? Quote, I hope therapy goes well for her. I feel for that poor lil boy. Oof. Never talk about full commitment and just expect everyone to be cool with that just being shoved out into the open. Can't be mad if you never talk about things and wave a large red flag in the room. Another person that should have proofread their post and realized they were stupid before posting. I only read the title and thought, WTF is wrong with you? Quote. Okay, I admit it. I might be a bit dumb, but I'm really confused. How can you date someone with a kid for a year plus and not know that eventually the endgame is to be dad? I might have a different perspective because I'm child-free, and when I dated, my intentions were always to find a life partner. So I was serious about it. But I refused to date single dads because that can only go one of two ways: stepmom or break up. I guess you don't have to take on a dad role, but it would 100% be my assumption that after being together exclusively for a year that this would be the road we were on. What did he think was happening? I feel like I'm missing something obvious here. I had a similar experience, but opposite. I was dating a woman who had 2 young kids, and when I introduced all of them to my family, my mom introduced my sisters as auntie to the kids. We had to have an uncomfortable conversation about how that wasn't okay and it would be confusing to the kids. They had wanted to call me Dad, but I said no because their bio dad was still in the picture. So them calling my sisters Auntie was sending mixed messages. It did not go well. Poor kid. I know single mothers that dated for 2 years before introducing their partner to their kids, and it is for a good reason. Honestly, I would have started thinking about what role I'd want to have in a kid's life if I am dating a parent as soon as I realize that I am dating a parent. This dude knows. Met the kid multiple times. And just never thought about it at all? While she's also the asshole for jumping the gun, I can't help but think that her partner is pretty emotionally immature as well. I agree that she's tall. But at the same time, I'm wondering how you can spend a year and a half in a relationship with a woman who has a very young child and not know whether you want to take on a fatherly role or not. That's something you should consider as soon as you enter the relationship. Seems cruel to string her along for so long. I don't blame her for assuming he'd take a fatherly role by that point. If I had a young kid and began a serious relationship with a man, I would assume him agreeing to a relationship implied he is comfortable with being a father one day. I really hope Oop doesn't just see this breakup as simply related to calling his parents grandpa and grandma. It seems like that might be a symptom of other stuff in their relationship that's missing here. Oop and BF were not on the same page after a year and a half. I feel for her son, can't imagine. Heartbreak. This reminds of me of one of my exes from many years ago. We'd met through one of the many Tinder-like apps. She clearly mentioned she had a child from a previous relationship. I hadn't realized though he'd be that old. Around 8 at the time, I think. I was late 20s. She was a tad younger. She seemed quite interesting and we worked nicely as a couple for a bit. Though she quickly invited me home for trivial stuff like movie nights and whatnot. And kiddo was there. Which fair enough, I knew about before passing the door. But I didn't necessarily realize the implications. He was a smart kid, extremely smart for his age. And he loved all things comic books. So we got on pretty nicely too. Anyway, things started feeling a little off. A remark here. A prolonged glance there. I started wondering if she wasn't trying to make me fit in a role I had expressly warned I did not want. Cue an afternoon where we were at my parents' place by the poolside. They were supposed to be gone until the next day. I had asked if I could invite some people over so we could enjoy the pool. My mother showed up, because it wouldn't be dramatic otherwise. And GF was all too happy to present her child to the rest of the family. That's when it finally clicked and I realized I had to bail sooner rather than later. Looking back, I felt more bad leaving the kid than his mother. Live and learn, I guess. So, I may be out of line here, but Jay should have said something, right? Like, I'm not forgiving her, but they seem to both need therapy. How dare anyone get that close to a child if they aren't serious about the relationship? She should have asked his parents what they would like to be called and not presume. Sure, but 18 months with a single mom of a 4-year-old where you stepped up and took on the role without saying anything. He is just as at fault. Anyone else? Okay, I guess I'm weird here, but if you're going to be with a single mother in a serious way, especially if the kid is young, aren't you automatically going to take on a parental or semi-parental role? Yeah, if the kid is a teenager and they lost their parent, you would have to be careful and not try to overstep. But on some level you are acting as a parent. If her and Jay were really quite casual, I could see him not being okay with it. But if they were supposed to be serious, I'd expect that. He's dating a single parent, not hanging out with one. It's a package deal. They've been together a year and a half. Am I the only one that thinks it's weird he doesn't feel like a father, working up to that role? Sure, maybe not right this instance. But it's not a fling? What does he expect? Yikes. I get that she probably shouldn't have done this. But this honestly didn't that big of a deal. Like, take a step back. And the parents easily could have communicated like adults or just quipped. Whoa, didn't realize y'all were so serious, haha. They had a legit conversation later. Perhaps I'm old-fashioned, but is it not natural for Op to assume that Jay is interested in her as a serious prospect once they've been together for 1.5 years? And if their relationship is serious, then isn't it also natural to assume that her son is a package deal in said relationship? Yonkers moment, God bless not a cheating post. There are other things he brought up that I feel are beyond this issue anyway. Morgan Freeman voice. They were, in fact, not beyond this issue, and were very, very intimately connected. Poor gal.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.